So on behalf of the ICD and its students, we would like to thank you for the honor of joining us today for your discussion and this interview. So right now, we would like to ask you a few questions in order to hear a bit more of your thoughts and opinions on a few topics that are pretty salient in today's age.
Thank you for having me.
So first off, the European Union. We know there's a lot of tensions in the world right now, and unions are one way to combat these tensions. But looking for the next few weeks, few months, or even next several years, what do you think are some of the major challenges that the EU will be facing?
Well, first of all, I think Ukraine, even though it's a hot topic right now, will remain a major challenge for the European Union in the long term because, a war is going on and its aftermath effects will take quite a long time. And people and everyone is watching what's happening. What will the EU do, especially given that Ukraine is now pushing for an accelerated entrance, an accelerated accession procedure for its entrance in the European Union. So that I think will be the major topic and the major concern. And depending on how the European Union manages this situation, its impact and its validation will occur. That would be one of the challenges. The second, I would refer to its stand as an actor in foreign policy and defense policy, because ever since Brexit, the foreign policy and defense policy somehow took off because the British were the major opposers to creating a second pillar in Europe. We have NATO, so why bother? But I think the European Union needs to focus on providing its own means and its own form of defense because it will be a reassurance and again a validation for the Union itself, because we are all in this together. And we need to cooperate not just on agriculture, healthcare, education, youth policies, economics and so on, but we also need to cooperate on defense. Not to replicate what NATO is doing in actual defense, but I'm thinking of cooperating in training, in sharing expertise in weaponry, in doing research projects on defense. So that would be my second challenge, my second choice of challenges for the EU in the long term. Yeah.
So we are in an Institute of Cultural Diplomacy, and my question would be related to cultural diplomacy. So I would love to hear your opinion regarding the importance of cultural diplomacy in this new world, if you could share it with us.
Well, cultural diplomacy needs to join, not just immediately, it needs to have the same strength as normal diplomacy in the current situation, because it is a form of creating bonds between states, between decision makers, by appealing to culture, appealing to cultural elements, arts, literature, creativity, theater, and so on. And these are proven to create better bonds than politics. If you bring two people together to discuss about politics, most certainly they will end the topic in fighting, especially if they're not sharing the same side. But if you bring them together, irrespective of their political opinions, to discuss about football, or in the case of Romania, that's a common topic, to discuss about the latest published author by the New York Times, for instance, or the latest play at the Staatsoper in Berlin, probably you will find a more constructive discussion. And this kind of constructive discussions bring people together and create an easier path to digesting the political aspects, which are not very common and easy to discuss sometimes. And instead of going straight forward into politics, we need cultural diplomacy, and we need to cultivate it, because right now people are talking about diplomacy as a means of doing foreign affairs. We need to be able to negotiate, we need to stick to the rules, do not overcome the regulations and the treaties, but behind all that there's people, and we need to appeal to those people by culture.
And as a professor in a university shaping the future generations who will be guiding our world, what advice do you give to your students and do you give to us here at the ICD to help us build a better future for not only ourselves but our children and our grandchildren?
Well, first of all, the advice that I usually give my students is to be inquisitive and to question everything around you. Ask questions. Do not be afraid of putting us as professors into tough positions. ask for more explanations, share your opinions. That would be the major advice. But firstly, be inquisitive, be curious, because when we are supposed to give you the ground rules on theory, but it's you that go into practice. Secondly, apart from being inquisitive and curious, I would recommend to keep up the hard work, because despite the current situation, despite the failures of the international society in dealing with some crisis, despite the fact that there's complacency going on, and many people think, okay, what should I do if I follow a degree in, I don't know, international relations? Well, there is a chance, there is a slight chance that if you do that degree, you might be able to change the world. Just think of Einstein, think of Kissinger, think of all the great people, just to give two separate examples. I don't think when they were children, they actually thought, I will be the big change, but they created an impact, each through their own means of activity and through their own field of activity. So actually, think of yourself, think that highly of yourself, that you can sometime be the actual change. Maybe it won't happen tomorrow, it won't happen at the end of the semester, it won't happen next year. But if you're consistent in your work, keep doing that. So keep working. And thirdly, I would say be creative. Because again, school is teaching you and putting you into boxes and teaching you the right stuff. This is the right approach, but don't be afraid of being creative and find a more out of the box solution to problems, because this is highly appreciated, and this can make the difference between a no-go situation and a happy end situation from this point of view. So creativity, hard work, curiosity and inquisitiveness, I think this would be the recipe that would help you, and of course my students and students all over the world, to make a change, to make a difference, to perform, to achieve their goals, and at the end of the day not to feel that was a wasted day. Because I know these might sound like really big words, and okay, you can be the change that you want. Of course, yes, you can be the change. Because just think of it: if there's something that you don't like, nothing's stopping you from saying, "That's it. I'm over. I'm moving to the next step." Don't stick into that, because this is what creativity helps you going, finding the next step, finding the next idea, finding the next solution. And don't be disappointed if somehow it doesn't work, because if you plan for tomorrow, for instance, you plan to go sightseeing in Berlin, and the weather is fine, and all of a sudden there's a storm and everything changes your plans. Don't be disappointed, don't skulk on it. Just find something else, find an alternative, and look at it brightly as an opportunity to experience something new. So that's my point of view, and I think I carved this point of view based on my interaction with students who are becoming more and more how should I say, student-like. They're not these polite children who just sit down and don't ask questions, and at the end of the course they're like, thank you, goodbye. They are aggressive in terms of interpretations, not aggressive physically, but in terms of interpretation. They give examples based on the pop culture that they experience. I mean, I started watching a Korean soap opera on Netflix just because my students actually asked me about the reunification of the two Koreas, because they saw something about it in this Korean soap, and I said, okay, I can't know that soap if they're asking about it.
I think I know which one is it.
Yeah, don't give names. We're not making publicity for Netflix. Yes. Yeah, so I think that's the advantage of working with students, with the young generation. You get to learn so much from them and carve your manner of approaching them based on what they offer you. Because if you don't get into this aspect, then you won't get through to them. You won't make an impact. You won't make a difference. You won't be the one who advised them to do something good for themselves. And I think that's our job as educators.
That definitely gives us hope for not only our futures, but the future of humanity.
Well, I hope so because, there's this saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And there was another saying replicated based on this, what doesn't kill you mutates during the pandemic. So you need to be prepared for whatever mutates, whatever makes it harsh for you, but always look it up positively, look it up as a challenge, one that you can overcome and not one that will overcome you. That's my suggestion. Of course, it's difficult if you do it in practice, but I think the 21st century and the 2023rd year that we're now living into has given us so many resources and so many ways to overcome difficulties just by having a simple touch on the screen of our smartphones to find information and not having to look it up in the library and, I don't know, going miles to find better books or something, as our parents did. And even myself during university, I had to go to the library because the internet was not that commonly used. So we have so many assets, we have so many resources, and we need to capitalize them and be the ones that take advantage of them, like roughly take advantage of them, use them to the full extent.
Thank you very much. Thank you for
Thank
all
you.
your answers. And we want to thank you for your time. And it was an honor and privilege to have you here with us at ICT.
Thank you. Thank you. It was an honor for me to be here as well, and I hope to come back and further discuss all this. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Very much. Thank you.